Hello, I'm Becky Saif. Thanks for checking out my YouTube channel. You may have noticed, if you're a regular here, that I have moved house. Not just rooms, house. So we have a brand new music studio to celebrate 1,000 subs. Coincidentally, obviously, I didn't just move house for the 1,000 subs, but yeah, it just happened to be at the same time. And I posed a question to the community of everybody that is subscribed to the channel as to what you guys would like to see more of in the coming months. And the top voted topics were sound design and mixing. So we're going to focus on sound design today. We're going to do a drum and bass in Vital using the free version of Vital, so all of the stock wavetables. And then we're going to process using Ableton's stock plugins as well. So the timestamps to this video are below in the description, as well as all of the other links that you might want to check out. But let's check out the sound. So this is the sound that we're going to make today. So before we jump into the synthesis, I just want to walk you through the 3 different layers that I have here. So the first layer is Vital. This is synthesized in Vital with all of the oscillators and then using the effects tab as well. So if I play this, and that is all post-processed using Rift, which I have a video tutorial on Rift. This just makes things so good, so good. It's worth checking out the video. I'll link it up here somewhere up there. I don't know, that's the first time I've done that. I'll figure out which corner it goes into, either that one or that one. Whatever corner, I don't know what corner it is. So this is bipolar distortion on the positive and the negative waveform, which is brilliant. It's so good. And then I've also got this low-high stereo bass processing, which I'm going to walk you through after we've designed the sound in Vital. And this is just splitting the bands from low to high and then processing them separately. And I'm also going to make this available for a free download. So if you do want to grab a copy of this, it is down below in the description. Worth having a look at it first before you download it, because you don't know what it is yet. And then the next track underneath Vital is actually a copy of Vital, but I've resampled it, reversed it, and then processed it using overdrive and reverb. So I'll just play you this so you can hear what this sounds like. So we've got some high frequency textures going on there. And then underneath I have a drum and bass stab that I've taken from a sample pack. And I've actually used this to drop it into the hybrid reverb on the track above. So this is just a stab from a sample pack. Again, adding textures and layers on top of our original Vital sound. We also have some automation going on here, but I'll walk you through all the stages. Let's just jump into designing the sound in Vital, and then we'll go through everything else after that. Okay, so I've copied down the Vital track with the same MIDI notes underneath, and I've disabled Rift and the low-high bass processing because we're going to add that later. But this is the initialized preset, and the first thing that we're going to do is going to create a sub with additional harmonics that's going to be direct out from Vital, and that's just going to give us those low frequency textures with the harmonics that when we do process them, they're going to be pushed up and giving us a nice bit of grit in the low frequency. So we've got oscillator 1. We're going to go to factory and basic shapes, and we have now a sine wave. This is our sub. We're going to bring the phase down to 0 so that every time the note is triggered, it's going to start from the very beginning of this waveform. And then we're just going to make sure it goes to direct out. The next thing you want to do is add in your harmonics. So if you click on the pencil, the harmonics are here. This is your fundamental, the first frequency in the frequency spectrum. And the harmonics, if you just draw in a couple more here, just don't go higher than the fundamental, as they're supposed to be like kind of additional harmonics, not higher harmonics than the fundamental. And there you go. That is your sub. So let's play this. Okay, so I'm sure you can hear there's a click going on, and we need to get rid of the click. So you just need to bring your attack slightly out a little bit. Now on to oscillator 2, and we're going to use waveform blend. So activate oscillator 2, and you're going to come onto your factory basic shapes again. And the waveform blend is when you drag this slider up and down, and you can see that you're moving between the different basic shapes. But we want to automate this or modulate it using the LFO. So grab your LFO 1 and drag and drop it onto the basic shapes. And if we play it now, you can see that it's moving through the basic shapes pretty fast, so let's slow that down. We're going to go to 2/1, and then you can also hear that it's quite stop-starty as it just kind of jumps from shape to shape. So we want to change that. Come onto the pencil and come to waveform blend, and now they're going to smoothly move between each other. I don't really want it to go through all of the waveforms, so I'm going to attenuate and bring down the amount of the LFO by dragging up and down here on the basic shapes, and we're going to just cycle through a few of them. I quite like that starting off with the sine wave, and as it moves towards the more gritty textures like the saw and the triangle, you've got those kind of crunchy harmonics, which are really going to come out once we do some post-processing. The next thing we want to do is modulate the level. I'm going to use LFO2 for this, and we're going to put it onto 1/1, bring the level down to around 10 o'clock, and drag LFO2 onto the level. And now you can hear how we've added some extra movement using the dynamics and LFO2. Just remember to bring your phase down to 0 so that it starts from the beginning of the waveform every time. And now we're going to send this to filter 1 and activate filter 1, bring down the resonance and add LFO2 to the filter cutoff of filter 1. This is going to move now in the same time as the level on oscillator 2. And just attenuate the amount because that's quite a lot moving up and down the frequency spectrum. Okay, so now on to oscillator 3, and we're going to frequency modulate, which is using the frequency of oscillator 3 to modulate the shape of oscillator 2. So if we come onto oscillator 3 and we can go onto our factory basic shapes, let's use the sine wave, bring the phase down to 0, and then we're going to go on to frequency modulate oscillator 2. Let's play it. Which is pretty extreme at the moment. We don't want it that much, so let's bring the FM amount down, and we're going to go onto LFO3, and this time we're going to create a ramp shape. So at the moment the other two are on triangle, but this one, now we're going to put it onto a ramp, and this is going to be slowly evolving everything over time. So we're going to do it on 1/1, and we're going to drag LFO3 onto our frequency modulation. It's too much at the moment, so bring the amount down. Send oscillator 3 to filter 2, activate your sample oscillator, and we're going to select noise as grinder, and then we're going to bring the amount of noise down and activate filter 2, bring the resonance down. And now we're going to use the ramp on LFO3 to ramp up the amount of noise and the filter cutoff in filter 2. So drag LFO3 onto the level of the noise, bring the amount down, and the same onto the filter cutoff of filter 2, remembering that oscillator 3 is also going into filter 2 as well. Just make sure your noise is going into filter 2. Everything is going into filter 2 now. I'm going to bring the level down on the noise. So that's the main body of the synthesis in the oscillator window in Vital. Another thing just to note on your MIDI notes here, so if I double click on them, you can see that they overlap a little bit. And with this overlap, I've actually taken into account that I want my notes to glide over each other as they move from one to another. So you just increase your glide here, and then it's going to smoothly transition from one MIDI note to another. Okay, so let's jump into the effects section of Vital. We're going to add chorus, distortion, filter, and reverb. Bring the distortion before the chorus and bring the reverb before the filter. And we're going to use LFO3 on the drive of the distortion. So we've got that ramp of drive on the distortion, the same as some of the other parameters in the VST. At the moment, the chorus is quite heavy as well as the reverb. So I'm going to bring the feedback down and the mix and the cutoff. And the same with the reverb as well. Let's bring the size of the reverb down. We want it to be there a little bit, but remember that we're going to be post-processing in Ableton as well, so that's going to amplify a lot of these effects. And then your filter, we're going to use LFO3 on the cutoff of the filter as well. But just bring it right down so that it's not so extreme. All right, so we have the sound in Vital. Let's jump into Ableton. And you can see here that I actually have a third-party plugin, which I've raved about before in previous videos. Check it up there, somewhere up there. It is Rift. It is so good. It's so, so good. Yeah, bipolar distortion processing on the positive and the negative. And you also have this extra complicated interface, which I do walk you through in that video and is worth checking out. This is brilliant. Stick this on your basses and you are going to have a happy time. So I'll play the sound just from Vital and then I'll play Rift. And now with Rift. And that's actually only on 50% dry wet. So yeah, that's just blended in, which is such a powerful tool. You can hear how those gritty upper harmonic textures are now really coming out in the mix. Next on the processing is this rack, which is now available to download in the description. So grab your free copy of this rack. And basically what I've done is I have low passed to isolate the lows and high passed to isolate and further process the highs, because that's where all the width and the noise and the extra sparkle texture, whatever you want to call it, that's where that is. And to isolate that and process that separately from the low end is really important. So I'm not going to recreate this. I'm just going to walk you through it. So on the lows, I've low passed and then I've added a utility, which is in mono. And then on the highs, we've added a saturator, high passed it. So the saturator is pushing up those upper frequencies. And then this stereo effect is widening and narrowing the stereo image over time. And I've automated that. So if I press A, you can see if we go on to here, this is the automation. And then after that, it is erosion to add some extra noise. I'm just going to play you through this and you can watch the automation as the stereo effect, which is a preset of EQ8, as that moves back and forth. Okay, so this is the sound without the low-high stereo bass processing. And then this is with. So especially if you're wearing headphones, you'll be able to hear that moving in and out with that stereo effect on the EQ8. And it's just those little subtle details that make such a big difference. Okay, so that's the Vital track done. Underneath the Vital track is some extra textures to layer on top of our main bass sound. So this is actually a frozen version of the track above, and then it's reversed and processed with high pass, overdrive, and hybrid reverb, which I do also have a video on. So if you are an Ableton user, hybrid reverb, somewhere up there. It's the first time I'm doing this, so I don't know where, but somewhere up there is the tutorial to hybrid reverb. Brilliant, brilliant addition to Ableton Live 11. So let me play you these textures. Okay, so in order to get that, you just freeze your Vital track. And then once that is frozen, instead of deleting it, you just press Control or Command and T, and you select over your MIDI and drag down using Control so that you're copying it down onto the track below. And then this is going to be reversed, pressing R, and then you can drag this to wherever you want it to be. So I think I probably did it there. And then what I did was I just selected over some sections and chopped them out like this. I think I cut that one completely there. And you'll notice that this one looks a bit longer, the original one underneath. And that's because I clicked on this and then I 2 times that so that it was double in length. And then just shaped the volume using the fades. And then I added it here as well. So now we have this reverse sound. But obviously, as it is, it's got a lot of low frequency content in there, and we don't want that competing with our main vital track or with our entire project that might actually have other low frequency content in there. It is just for embellishment. So you'll see here that I have EQ8 and overdrive, which I can just copy onto this track. And then we also have the hybrid reverb. So hybrid reverb, I'm just going to get a new instance of it and drag it and drop it onto our new track. So here is the default state of hybrid reverb. And yeah, check out the video that I've done on this because I go through all of the different features, but essentially it is 2 reverbs using an impulse response from anything you like. So what I've actually done with this to keep it in theme with the track is I've taken this drum and bass stab from a sample pack that I've used, and I've dragged the sample and dropped it into the hybrid reverb. It's going to work in partnership with the track underneath because it's got that essence through the hybrid reverb. So back onto our frozen track. And then I just changed the size because as you can hear, it's still ringing out, and the decay. And the blend was more towards the impulse response. And that is pretty much it. So you have some extra textures underneath that aren't competing with your main vital track. I can unfreeze that now, and I can play you the final product. And that is your Techy minimal rolling drum and bass in Vital. It is amazing what you can achieve with basic shapes and pretty much all stock plugins apart from Rift, which is absolutely worth getting your hands on. If you enjoyed this video, yeah, great. But if you would like more content from me, please check out my links below. I do have some courses in sound design and Ableton Live 11, as well as the rack that you should download from this project so that you can add it to your basses as well. If you aren't subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing and supporting, and then you'll be notified when I do post new content. I'm going to be covering mostly sound design and mixing over the coming months. Cool. All right. Thank you. I will see you for another video. Bye.